Emperor Thaxvaran stood before the massive viewing screen in his command chamber, watching the blue and green planet below. Earth looked peaceful from orbit, but he knew better. The humans on this world were trouble. They had refused his demands for surrender 3 times now. They said they would rather die than serve the hegemony. Foolish creatures, he muttered, his forearms crossing behind his back. His purple skin gleamed under the bright lights of the ship. They think their primitive weapons can stop us. The Emperor had ruled the galaxy for over 200 years. Countless species had bowed before his power. The Zalari with their crystal cities, the morphic shapeshifters, the machine race called the Vex, all had seen wisdom in joining his empire, all except these stubborn humans. "My lord," said General Crix, approaching with careful steps. The reptilian officer held a datapad in his clawed hands. "The human colony ships are attempting to evacuate their young. Should we allow them to escape?" Thaxvaran's yellow eyes narrowed as he studied the screen. Dozens of small ships were leaving the planet's surface, heading for the outer system. Each ship carried hundreds of human children, fleeing to safety while their parents stayed to fight. "No," the Emperor said slowly. "I am tired of human defiance. Let me send a message that will echo across the galaxy." General Crix shifted nervously. "My lord, targeting evacuation ships with children is against the Galactic War codes." The Emperor turned to face his general. His massive form towered over the smaller reptilian. "I write the codes now, General, and I decide who lives and dies in my galaxy." He walked to his command throne and pressed several buttons on the armrest. The ship's main guns began to charge with a deep humming sound. On the screen, red targeting circles appeared around each fleeing human vessel. "Open a channel to the human leadership," Thaxvaran ordered. The screen split to show a human man with gray hair and tired eyes. He wore the uniform of Earth's Defense Force. Behind him, alarms were blaring. "Emperor," the human said, "we are evacuating non-combatants. Our children pose no threat to your forces." "That is where you are wrong, human," Thaxvaran replied with a cold smile. "Your children will grow up to be rebels like you. They will teach their children to resist me. This ends now." The human commander's face went pale. "Please, they are just children. Take me instead. Take all of our military personnel. But let the children live." "I have a better idea," the Emperor said. "I will make an example that every species in the galaxy will remember. When others see what happens to those who defy me, they will choose wisdom over pride." He nodded to his weapons officer. "Fire!" The human on the screen screamed, "No!" But it was too late. Brilliant beams of energy lanced out from the Imperial flagship. They struck the first evacuation ship in seconds. The vessel exploded in a ball of flame and metal. Then the second ship died. Then the third. One by one, the Emperor watched as each evacuation ship was destroyed. Some tried to change course. Others attempted to hide behind asteroids. None escaped. In less than 10 minutes, 43 ships had been turned into floating debris. "How many?" Thaxvaran asked calmly. General Crix checked his datapad with shaking hands. 5,731 children confirmed dead, my lord." The Emperor nodded with satisfaction. "Good. Make sure every news network in the galaxy receives this footage. I want every species to see what happens when they resist the hegemony." On the planet below, the human commander was weeping. His voice cracked as he spoke. "You monster. They were innocent." "Innocence is a luxury I cannot afford," Thaxvaran replied. "Your species chose war when you refused my generous offer of surrender. Now you face the consequences." He cut the transmission and turned to his fleet commanders. "Begin the planetary bombardment. Leave no human structures standing. Any survivors can serve as slaves in the mining worlds." The attack on Earth lasted 3 days. Human defense ships fought bravely, but were no match for Imperial technology. Cities burned, forests turned to ash, the oceans boiled under the assault. When it was over, less than 50,000 humans remained alive on their homeworld. But Earth was not the only human colony. Across the galaxy, on dozens of worlds, humans heard about the massacre. They watched the footage of their children dying in the cold vacuum of space. They saw their homeworld burning. The Emperor expected them to surrender immediately. He thought the destruction of Earth would break their spirit. He was wrong. 3 days after the attack, every human colony went silent. They stopped all communication with other species. Trade routes that had operated for decades suddenly went empty. Human merchants disappeared from alien markets. Human diplomats left their posts without explanation. At first, Thaxavaran thought this was surrender. He believed the humans were too scared to continue fighting. His intelligence officers reported that human military forces had abandoned their bases. Human warships had vanished from patrol routes. See? The Emperor told his advisors. Sometimes a firm hand is exactly what rebellious children need. The humans have learned their lesson. But Admiral Voss, his chief military advisor, looked worried. The elderly hegemony officer had fought in dozens of campaigns. He had seen many species break under imperial pressure. This felt different, my lord, Admiral Voss said carefully. We should be cautious. The humans have not formally surrendered. They have simply disappeared. What difference does it make? Thaxavaran waved a dismissive hand. They are gone. Their resistance is over. We can claim their worlds for the Empire. Perhaps, my lord. But in my experience, when an enemy goes quiet, they are usually planning something. The Emperor laughed. It was a harsh sound that echoed through the command chamber. Planning what? Their entire homeworld is ash. Their children are dead. What could they possibly plan that would threaten the mighty hegemony? Admiral Voss bowed his head. Of course, my lord. You are right. But privately, the old admiral remained concerned. He had studied human military history during the war preparations. Humans had a disturbing habit of becoming more dangerous when cornered. Their species had a word for it. Desperate. On the bridge of his flagship, Emperor Thaxavaran stood before his viewing screen and smiled. The stars looked beautiful tonight. His empire stretched across half the galaxy. Trillions of beings served his will. The human problem had been solved with decisive action. He had no way of knowing that in the darkness between stars, human ships were moving. Ships that had been hidden in asteroid fields and gas clouds. Ships that carried the survivors of 43 destroyed worlds. Ships filled with humans who had nothing left to lose except their desire for justice. The Emperor had killed 5,731 children to send a message. Soon, he would receive a message in return. 7 days had passed since the destruction of the human evacuation ships. Emperor Thaxavaran sat in his private quarters, reviewing reports from across his empire. The other species were responding exactly as he had hoped. The Morphic Council had sent a formal message of congratulations. The Vex Collective had increased their tribute payments by 20%. Even the proud Zalari had begun construction on 3 new warships for the Imperial fleet. Fear was a powerful motivator, the Emperor thought as he sipped his morning nutrition fluid. Sometimes a ruler had to make hard choices to maintain order. His thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime from his personal communication device. The small screen showed an incoming message with no sender identification. That was unusual. All communications to the Emperor were supposed to be filtered through multiple security layers. He touched the activation key, expecting to see one of his advisors or perhaps an emergency report from the fleet. Instead, the screen displayed a single word in perfect hegemony script. Destruction. The word appeared in glowing red letters against a black background. No sender, no timestamp, no additional information. Just that one word pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Thaxavaran frowned and tried to delete the message. It would not disappear. He pressed the reset button, but the word remained. He turned off the device completely, waited 10 seconds, then turned it back on. The message was still there. Guards, he called. 2 Imperial soldiers entered immediately. They were Krantz warriors, each standing 8 feet tall with thick gray skin and forearms ending in clawed hands. Summon my technical staff, the Emperor ordered. Someone has breached my personal communication system. Within minutes, 3 technicians arrived. They were from different species, all experts in Imperial technology. The first was a Vex unit, its metal body clicking and whirring as it analyzed the device. The second was a human, one of the few who had chosen to serve the Empire before the recent conflict. The third was a Zalari, her crystal-like features glowing with concentration. Can you trace the source of this message? Thaxavaran asked. The Vex unit extended several thin probes into the communication device. Scanning for transmission origins. No external signal detected. No record of message reception in system logs. The human technician, a young woman named Sarah Chen, looked confused. My lord, according to the device's memory, this message was never received. It simply exists. That is impossible, the Emperor said. Messages do not appear from nothing. The Zalari technician's crystal body flickered with different colors as she worked. The message appears to be integrated into the device's core systems. It is not stored as data. It is written directly into the hardware itself. Before anyone could respond, a junior officer rushed into the room. "My lord, urgent report from the communications center." "What is it?" Thaxavaran demanded. "The same message, my lord. It is appearing on every communication device in the palace. Every screen, every data pad, every holographic display. The word destruction in our language." The Emperor's yellow eyes widened. "How many devices?" "All of them, my lord." "Tens of thousands. The technical staff cannot remove it or trace its source." Thaxavaran stood quickly and strode from his quarters. His guards and technicians followed as he made his way to the main communications center. The huge room was filled with hundreds of workers monitoring transmissions across the galaxy. Every single screen showed the same red word: destruction. Report. The Emperor barked at the chief communications officer. "My lord, the message appeared simultaneously on all systems at exactly 0800 hours. We have tried everything. Shutting down systems, replacing hardware, even building completely new communication arrays. The message appears instantly on any device we activate." "What about the fleet?" Thaxavaran asked. "The same, my lord. Every ship in the Imperial Navy is reporting identical messages on all their systems." The Emperor's 4 hands clenched into fists. This was impossible. The Imperial communication network was the most secure in the galaxy. It had never been breached, not once in 200 years. "Sir," Sarah Chen spoke up quietly, "I am receiving reports from other species as well." "What do you mean?" The human technician activated a nearby screen, showing incoming messages from across the galaxy. The Morphic Council reports that the word destruction is appearing on their systems, but in their language. The Vex Collective is experiencing the same thing in their binary code. Even species that are not part of the Empire are reporting similar phenomena. Admiral Voss entered the communications center, his expression grim. "My lord, I have disturbing news from our intelligence network." "More of the same?" Thaxavaran asked. "No, sir. This is different." The Admiral activated a large display screen. "We have been monitoring the human colonies since their surrender. Our deep space sensors show something unusual." The screen showed a star map of the local galaxy sector. Dozens of human colonies were marked with red dots. Each dot was flashing slowly. "What am I looking at?" the Emperor demanded. "Human colony worlds, my lord. But according to our sensors, they are all empty." "Empty?" "No life signs, sir. No communication signals. No energy readings from cities or settlements. It is as if every human simply vanished." The Vex technician spoke in its mechanical voice. Query: could the humans have evacuated their entire population? "Where would they go?" Admiral Voss replied. "We are monitoring all space lanes. No massive fleet movements have been detected. No refugee ships, nothing." Sarah Chen was studying her datapad with growing alarm. "Admiral, I'm seeing something else. Long-range sensors are detecting industrial activity on these empty worlds." "What kind of industrial activity?" "Manufacturing facilities operating at maximum capacity. Mining operations extracting materials at unprecedented rates. Construction of something. But no human life signs anywhere." The room fell silent except for the humming of machinery. Everyone stared at the display, trying to understand what they were seeing. "Automated systems," the Emperor said finally. "The humans must have programmed their machines to continue working after they evacuated." "Perhaps, my lord," Admiral Voss said carefully. "But our intelligence suggests they were not advanced enough for such sophisticated automation." "Then they learned quickly," Thaxavaran snapped. "Fear has a way of motivating rapid innovation." But even as he spoke, the Emperor felt a cold sensation in his chest. Something was wrong. The disappearance of an entire species was not normal behavior, even for humans. And this message: how could one word appear simultaneously across the entire galaxy? "Sir," Sarah Chen said quietly, "there is one more thing." "What?" "I have been analyzing the linguistic patterns of the message. The word destruction is not just appearing in different languages. It is appearing in perfect native-level script for each species, including languages that have never been recorded in any human database. The implications of her words hung in the air like a toxic gas. How could humans know the written languages of species they had never encountered? How could they simultaneously breach every communication system in the galaxy? "Double the security around the palace," Emperor Thaxavaran ordered. "Increase patrols in all sectors. and I want every intelligence asset we have focused on finding these missing humans." As his officers rushed to carry out his commands, the Emperor stared at the flashing red word on the screen before him. Destruction for the first time in 2 centuries. Thaxavaran felt something he had not experienced since his youth. Uncertainty. The humans were planning something. But what? 3 weeks had passed since the message appeared, and Emperor Thaxavaran was losing patience. His intelligence network, the most extensive in the galaxy, had found nothing. The humans had not just disappeared. They had vanished so completely that it seemed like they had never existed at all. "Report," he commanded, as Admiral Voss entered his private office. The old military officer looked tired. Deep lines marked his face, and his uniform was wrinkled. "My lord, our scout ships have completed detailed surveys of 17 human colony worlds. The results are disturbing. Show me." Admiral Voss activated the holographic display in the center of the room. 3-dimensional images of planets appeared, rotating slowly in the air. "This is New Terra, formerly home to 12 million humans," the Admiral began. "Our scans show no human life signs anywhere on the planet. However, the cities are intact. The power grids are functioning. Traffic control systems are still operating, but there are no vehicles on the roads." The image shifted to show empty streets and buildings. Everything looked normal except for the complete absence of people. "It looks like they just left," Thaxavaran observed. "That was our first assumption, my lord. But watch this." The display changed to show the planet's industrial sector. The manufacturing facilities are operating at 150% of their normal capacity. They are producing materials at rates that should be impossible with human technology. The Emperor leaned forward. "What materials?" "Unknown, sir. Our sensors cannot identify the substances being created. They appear to be some kind of advanced alloys, but the composition does not match anything in our databases." "What about their defensive systems?" "Fully operational. In fact, they have been upgraded. When our scouts attempted to land for closer investigation, they were met with weapons fire, not from human operators, but from automated defense systems that are far more sophisticated than anything humans possessed before." The Emperor's 4 hands drummed against his desk. "They automated their defenses before fleeing. Smart, but not unusual for a retreating force." "With respect, my lord, there is more." The Admiral's expression grew more troubled. "Show display 7. The hologram changed to show a massive space station orbiting one of the human worlds. The structure was enormous, larger than an Imperial battleship. "This station was not there 2 months ago," Admiral Voss said. "Our intelligence files show no record of its construction. According to our estimates, building something this size should take at least 5 years with human technology." "Then they had help," the Emperor said dismissively. "Some ally we have not identified." "From whom, my lord?" "We monitor all spacefaring species. No one has the capability to build this quickly except us." The room fell silent. Both men stared at the image of the mysterious station. "Have you attempted communication?" Thaxavaran asked. "Yes, sir. No response to any of our signals. But the station is definitely active. Energy readings suggest it contains some kind of massive manufacturing facility." The Emperor stood and walked to the large window overlooking his capital city. Millions of beings from dozens of species lived and worked in the sprawling metropolis below. They served the Empire faithfully because they feared its power, but fear only worked when your enemies could see and understand your strength. "What about the other colonies?" he asked without turning around. "Similar patterns everywhere, my lord. Empty cities with functioning infrastructure. Industrial facilities producing unknown materials. New defensive installations that seem to have appeared overnight. And something else." "What?" "Deep space monitoring stations. Small platforms hidden in asteroid fields and nebulae throughout human space. Our sensors can barely detect them. They appear to be watching everything that passes through those systems." Thaxavaran turned back to face his admiral. "Watching for what?" "We do not know, sir, but they are tracking our scout ships. Every time one of our vessels enters human space, these hidden stations orient toward it and begin transmitting data." "To where?" Unknown. The transmissions use a quantum encryption method we cannot decode. They could be sending information anywhere in the galaxy. The Emperor felt his anger rising. The humans were playing games with him. They were hiding like cowards while their machines did their work. It was an insult to his authority. "How many humans are we talking about?" he demanded. "What was their total population across all colonies?" Admiral Voss consulted his datapad. "Approximately 400 million, my lord. Spread across 47 worlds and hundreds of space stations. 400 million people do not simply vanish. They are hiding somewhere. Find them." "We have tried, sir. Our sensors have scanned every system within 500 light years. We have checked asteroid fields, gas giant moons, even the space between stars. Nothing." The frustration in the Admiral's voice was clear. Thaxavaran had never seen his most capable officer look so defeated. "Then expand the search," the Emperor ordered. "Check systems 1,000 light-years away. 2,000. They must be somewhere." "My lord," Admiral Voss said carefully, "I must suggest another possibility." "Which is? What if they have not fled? What if they are still here but using technology we do not understand?" The Emperor laughed harshly. "Humans are primitive. Their technology is centuries behind ours. How could they possibly hide from Imperial sensors? 6 months ago I would have agreed with you, sir. But 6 months ago, humans could not build space stations overnight or make their entire population disappear. Perhaps we have underestimated their capabilities." Before the Emperor could respond, his communication system chimed. Sarah Chen's voice came through the speakers. "My lord, urgent report from the Zalari homeworld." "What is it?" Thaxvaran activated the visual link. The human technician appeared on screen, her face pale with worry. "Sir, the Zalari are reporting strange phenomena in their system. Several of their outer planets have gone dark. No communication, no energy signatures. They sent investigation ships, but what? The ships found the planets completely empty, my lord, just like the human worlds. But the Zalari population was 15 billion beings. They cannot have simply evacuated overnight." The Emperor felt ice forming in his stomach. "How many planets?" "3 so far, sir. But the Zalari are reporting that the effect is spreading. 1 planet goes dark every few days." Admiral Voss stepped closer to the screen. "Sarah, are there any similarities to the human disappearances?" "Yes, sir. The infrastructure is intact but unoccupied. Industrial facilities are operating autonomously. And?" She hesitated. "What?" the Emperor demanded. "There are new structures on each world, large facilities that were not there before. The Zalari have no record of building them." Thaxavaran ended the communication and turned to his admiral. "This is impossible. Entire populations do not disappear. Planets do not empty themselves." "Perhaps not, my lord. But it is happening." The Emperor walked back to his window. The city below looked normal, but now he found himself wondering if it was real. How could he be sure his own people were still there? How could he trust his own sensors when they had failed to detect the human vanishing? "Double the guard around the palace," he ordered. "Recall the Third Fleet from the Outer Rim. I want them here, defending the capital." "Sir, if I may ask, what exactly are we defending against?" Thaxavaran did not answer immediately. He stared out at his empire's greatest city and tried to understand what was happening. An enemy he could not see was making entire worlds disappear. They had bypassed every security system in the galaxy to deliver a single word: destruction. "I do not know," he said finally. "But whatever the humans are planning, it is larger than we imagined." In the darkness of space, far beyond the reach of Imperial sensors, human ships moved like ghosts between the stars. They carried no running lights. Their engines produced no heat signatures. Their hulls were coated with materials that absorbed every form of radiation. And in the ships, humans worked tirelessly on plans that would soon change the galaxy forever. The silence was not surrender, it was preparation. The attack began at exactly 800 hours Galactic Standard Time, on the 43rd day after the message appeared. Emperor Thaxvaran was in his morning briefing when every alarm in the palace began screaming at once. The massive doors to his conference room burst open as General Crix rushed in, his reptilian face twisted with panic. "My lord, we are under attack." "Attack?" The Emperor rose from his chair. "From whom?" "Our sensors show no enemy ships in the system." "That is the problem, sir." General Crix activated the room's main display. "They are firing on us, but we cannot see them." The screen showed the capital system from orbit. Dozens of Imperial warships hung in space around the planet, their shields glowing as they absorbed incoming weapons fire. But there were no enemy vessels visible anywhere. "This is impossible," Admiral Voss said, studying the display. "Nothing can fire without being detected." As if to prove him wrong, one of the Imperial cruisers suddenly exploded. A brilliant flash of light marked its destruction, but still no attacking ships appeared on the sensors. "How many vessels are we losing?" the Emperor demanded. 17 ships destroyed in the past 3 minutes, General Crix reported. "They are targeting our heaviest warships first. Whatever weapons they are using, they can penetrate our shields with a single hit." Thaxaverin watched in growing horror as another battleship died. Then another. His magnificent fleet, the terror of the galaxy, was being picked apart by an invisible enemy. "Order all ships to retreat to minimum safe distance," he commanded. "Full defensive formation around the planet." "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we are receiving similar reports from across the Empire. Imperial fleets in 12 systems are under attack by invisible forces." "Impossible! How can humans attack 12 systems simultaneously?" Before anyone could answer, the lights in the palace flickered. Emergency power activated with a red glow. Through the massive windows, the Emperor could see explosions lighting up the night sky above his capital city. "They are targeting our planetary defenses," Admiral Voss observed. "The orbital weapons platforms are being destroyed." "By what?" Thaxaverin roared. "I see nothing." Sarah Chen's voice came through the communication system. "My lord, I am detecting energy signatures consistent with Imperial plasma weapons. But the firing patterns suggest the attackers are using our own technology against us. That makes no sense. Humans do not have Imperial weapons." "Sir," she said quietly, "I think they do now." The Emperor was about to demand an explanation when the main display changed. For the first time since the attack began, they could see the enemy. Ships began appearing out of empty space as if materializing from nothing. But these were not sleek Imperial vessels or primitive human craft. They were a mixture of both, combined in ways that should have been impossible. Human cargo ships equipped with Imperial weapons, luxury liners bristling with military-grade shields, even small personal craft that had been turned into fighters carrying plasma cannons larger than themselves. "By the void," Admiral Voss whispered. "They retrofitted their entire civilian fleet." "How did they get Imperial technology?" the Emperor demanded. His question was answered when one of the attacking ships passed close to the palace windows. Through the transparent hull sections, they could see the crew inside. Humans, yes, but also Zalari with their crystal bodies glowing, morphic shapeshifters in their natural forms. Even some Vex units, their metal bodies working alongside organic beings. "They are not just humans," General Crix said in shock. "They have allied with other species." "Which species would dare betray the Empire?" Thaxaverin asked. "The ones whose children were murdered," Admiral Voss replied grimly. The Emperor spun to face him. "What do you mean?" "Sir, we have been so focused on the human casualties that we forgot something important. When we destroyed those evacuation ships, we were not just killing human children. Mixed marriages are common on the frontier worlds. Many of those ships carried children who were half Zalari, half morphic, half Vex. We killed the offspring of a dozen different species." The full implications hit Thaxaverin like a physical blow. He had not just attacked humanity. He had attacked families that included members from across the galaxy. Every species in the Empire probably had relatives who died in those evacuation ships. "The humans united them," he said slowly. "They used our attack to create an alliance." "More than that," Sarah Chen's voice came through the speakers again. "Sir, I'm analyzing the attacking vessels. They are not just using Imperial technology. They have improved it. Their weapons are 30% more efficient than ours. Their shields are stronger. Their ships are faster. Impossible. Imperial technology is the most advanced in the galaxy." "Not anymore, my lord." Another explosion rocked the palace as the planetary defense grid continued to fall. Through the windows, they could see the attacking ships moving with precision that spoke of careful planning. They were not randomly destroying targets. They were systematically dismantling the Empire's military infrastructure. "Sir," General Crix reported, "we are receiving surrender offers from our fleet commanders. They are requesting permission to abandon their positions." "Denied," the Emperor shouted. "Imperial forces do not retreat." "My lord," Admiral Voss said carefully, "we have lost 60% of our ships in this system alone. If we continue fighting, we will lose everything. Then we will rebuild. The Empire has survived challenges before." "Not like this," the Admiral replied. "Sir, reports are coming in from across Imperial space. The attacks are not random. They are targeting every world that publicly celebrated the destruction of the human evacuation ships." The Emperor felt the blood drain from his face. "How many worlds is that?" 217, my lord." The magnitude of what was happening finally struck home. This was not just an attack on military targets. This was systematic revenge against every planet, every species, every individual who had supported the massacre of those children. "They planned this," he said in growing horror. "For 6 weeks, while we thought they had disappeared, they were planning this exact attack." "The manufacturing facilities on the empty worlds," Admiral Voss said with sudden understanding. "They were not abandoned. They were automated factories building the ships and weapons for this assault. And the monitoring stations were tracking our fleet movements," Sarah Chen added through the speakers. "They knew exactly where every Imperial ship was positioned." Emperor Thaxvaran sank into his chair as the full scope of the human strategy became clear. They had not fled in panic after his attack. They had used his own brutality as a tool to unite the galaxy against him. Every species that had lost children in those evacuation ships was now fighting for revenge. "Sir," the communications officer said urgently, "incoming transmission. It is coming from the attacking fleet. Put it through." The main display changed to show a human woman with short gray hair and steel blue eyes. She wore the uniform of Earth's Defense Force, but it had been modified with symbols from a dozen different species. "Emperor Thaxvaran," she said in a voice as cold as the void between stars. "I am Admiral Sarah Martinez, commanding the United Liberation Fleet." "Liberation Fleet?" The Emperor spat. "You are terrorists and murderers." "We are parents," she replied simply. "Parents whose children you killed to send a message. Now we have a message for you." Behind her, Thaxvaran could see the mixed crew of her ship, humans working alongside beings from across the galaxy, all united in their purpose. "Surrender your forces and abdicate your throne," Admiral Martinez continued, "or we will continue destroying every ship, every station, and every world that serves your empire." "I will never surrender to you." The human admiral's expression did not change. "Then you have chosen destruction." Just as we promised, the transmission ended and the attack resumed with renewed fury. Emperor Thaxvaran stood at his window and watched his empire burning. 6 months after the first attack, Emperor Thaxvaran stood alone in what remained of his once magnificent palace. The great hall that had hosted celebrations for 2 centuries was now empty and cold. Broken windows let in the harsh wind that carried the smoke of his burning capital city. Most of his advisors were dead. Admiral Voss had died defending the orbital platforms. General Crix had been killed when the humans destroyed the military command center. Sarah Chen had vanished 3 months ago, probably joining the rebellion like so many others. The Emperor's 4 hands shook as he held the final report from his intelligence network. It made for grim reading. The United Liberation Fleet had not just destroyed his military forces. They had systematically freed every oppressed species in his empire. The Zalari had reclaimed their crystal homeworlds and declared independence. The Morphic Council had dissolved their tribute agreements and formed a new alliance with the humans. Even the Vex Collective, his most loyal servants, had quietly withdrawn their support after their manufacturing worlds were liberated. Thaxvaran crumpled the report and threw it across the room. Everything he had built was gone. 200 years of conquest reduced to ash and memory. "My lord?" A voice called from the doorway. The Emperor turned to see Captain Korax, one of his few remaining guards. The Krantz warrior's gray skin was marked with battle scars and his uniform was stained with blood. "What is it, Captain?" "Sir, there is a ship requesting permission to land. They claim to be carrying a diplomatic envoy." Thaxvaran laughed bitterly. "Diplomatic envoy from whom?" "Everyone in the galaxy wants me dead." They say they represent the new Galactic Council, my lord. They wish to discuss terms for your surrender. The Emperor's yellow eyes narrowed. I have not surrendered. Sir, with respect, you have no choice. This is the last Imperial world still under your control. Everywhere else has been liberated. It was true. The humans and their allies had been thorough. They had not simply conquered Imperial worlds, they had freed them. Every species that had been forced to serve the Empire was now independent. Every world that had paid tribute was now keeping its resources for its own people. Let them land, Thaxiverin said finally, but increase the guard. If they think to capture me alive, they will be disappointed. An hour later, the Emperor sat in his throne room waiting for his visitors. The massive chamber that had once been filled with art and treasures from across the galaxy was now nearly empty. The humans had not stolen these things. They had returned them to their original worlds. The great doors opened and 3 figures entered. The first was Admiral Martinez, the human woman who had become the face of the rebellion. The second was a tall Zalari whose crystal body glowed with soft blue light. The third surprised him. It was Admiral Voss. Admiral, Thaxiverin said coldly. I was told you were dead. The old officer looked tired but unharmed. I apologize for the deception, my lord. It seemed safer to let you believe that. You betrayed me? No, sir. I serve the people of the galaxy. There is a difference. Admiral Martinez stepped forward. Unlike their previous communication, she seemed calm now. The cold fury had been replaced by something that might have been pity. Emperor Thaxiverin, she said formally, we have come to discuss the future. My future is death, he replied. I assume you want the pleasure of killing me yourself? Actually, no. She gestured to the Zalari who approached carrying a crystal tablet. We want you to live. The Emperor blinked in surprise. What? The Galactic Council has voted, the Zalari said in her musical voice. You will be given a ship and safe passage to any uninhabited world you choose. You may live there in exile for the remainder of your natural life. That is generous, Thaxiverin said suspiciously. What is the catch? Admiral Martinez smiled grimly. You will live long enough to see what the galaxy becomes without your empire. You will watch as former Imperial worlds prosper in freedom. You will see species working together as equals instead of master and slave. And you will know that this new golden age exists because of what you did to our children. The Emperor felt his legs give way. He sank into his throne, understanding the true cruelty of their mercy. They were not going to give him the clean death of a warrior. They were going to make him watch as everything he had believed in was proven wrong. The massacre of 5,631 children was supposed to be your message to the galaxy, Admiral Voss said quietly. Instead, it became the catalyst for the greatest liberation in galactic history. Every world you threatened came together to stop you. Every species you oppressed found strength and unity. We learned something important, Admiral Martinez added. When you kill a child, you do not just murder one life. You murder all the lives that child might have touched, all the good they might have done, all the love they might have shared. Those 5,731 children would have grown up to be teachers, artists, explorers, peacemakers. You stole that from the galaxy. The Zalari stepped forward again. But from their sacrifice, something beautiful was born. The species of the galaxy have learned to work together. We share technology freely. We protect each other's children. We build instead of destroying. The new Galactic Council has representatives from every world, Admiral Voss explained. Decisions are made by consensus, not by force. Trade is voluntary, not tribute demanded at gunpoint. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy is truly at peace. Emperor Thaxiverin looked at these 3 beings who had destroyed everything he had built. A human, a Zalari, and one of his own former officers working together as equals. It should have been impossible. Different species were meant to be at war with each other. The strong were meant to rule the weak. You think this will last? He asked. This alliance of yours? Different species have different needs, different goals. Eventually you will fight among yourselves, perhaps, Admiral Martinez admitted. But if we do, it will be as equals settling disputes, not as masters and slaves. And we will remember the children, all the children from all the worlds, who died to teach us this lesson. She turned to leave, then paused. Your ship is waiting, Emperor. Choose your exile world carefully. You will be there for a very long time. As the 3 envoys left the throne room, Thaxiverin sat alone among the ruins of his empire. Outside he could hear the sounds of his capital city being evacuated. The few beings who had remained loyal to him were being given the same choice: exile or integration into the new galactic order. Most would choose integration. They would return to their homeworlds and help build the new society that was rising from the ashes of his empire. They would forget about their former emperor and focus on creating something better. That night, as Thaxvaran prepared to board his exile ship, he thought about the children. 731 young lives ended in a moment of cold calculation. He had thought their deaths would send a message of strength. Instead, they had revealed his ultimate weakness. He had not understood what he was truly fighting against. He thought he was conquering primitive species who would submit to superior force. But he had been wrong. He had been fighting something much more powerful than weapons or technology. He had been fighting love. The love of parents for their children. The love of species for their freedom. The love of peace builders for justice. And love, as the humans had proven, was a force that could move the galaxy itself. As his ship lifted off from the dying imperial capital, former Emperor Thaxvaran looked down at the world he was leaving forever. In the distance, he could see ships from dozens of different species working together to help with the evacuation. Humans and Zalari and Morphix and Vex, all cooperating to ensure that even his former subjects were treated with dignity. The message he had tried to send with the deaths of 5731 children had indeed echoed across the galaxy. But it was not the message he had intended. It was a message of hope, unity, and the unstoppable power of love to overcome even the darkest tyranny. And that message would outlive them all.